I'm Brett. Good morning. Welcome to Coldwell Banker Schmidt again. We really appreciate you coming in to see us and, as always, giving us some great information. Uh, and I think we'll get started. And then maybe you could tell us, what you see before we even get into this, any changes you see as the recent reorganization with Compass, what you see or what you think is coming, because I get questions all the time. Maybe you could give us a couple of minutes on what you think or what you've seen so far.
I'm an open book, so I'm all about full transparency. So if any of you guys have any questions on what's going on, if I can answer them, I'll answer them. And I say that very genuinely because there's still a lot going on that I'm not even aware of. But so when I say if I can answer them, doesn't necessarily mean if it's top secret, but it just means
Mhm.
do I have the knowledge? But I'm happy to. I'm actually really excited about the Compass International Holdings merger. I feel that Robert, number one, he used to be an adversary, but number two, and so you would look at him and hear things about his position, and it usually framed around that with his whole private listing strategy, that it was all about just greed and keeping things inside. But when you speak with him in person and you hear the whole reasoning behind it, his whole focus is giving back the power, if you will, giving back the decision making back to the broker, back to the agent, and allow us to make the decisions that are right, wrong, or indifferent for our clients or with our clients. So I'm really excited about that in the direction that he wants to take it. I got to tell you, he operates like a startup. The things that he does, the decisions that he makes at an enterprise level happen very, very rapidly. So to have someone who is a founder and bootstrapped Compass Realty into what it is, and now we're part of the broader Compass International Holdings, um, it feels a lot like working with another real estate person in the business because you're making decisions really, really rapidly because time is of the essence.
Mm.
I think the third thing that I'm excited about is the technology. It's not that the technology isn't already out there. For instance, all of the technology that we provide to affiliates now, I would say 90% of it already exists. The difference is that the CIH, Compass International Holdings, it's no longer Anywhere Real Estate. Now it's CIH. The platform is fully integrated, and you don't need a big roll of duct tape to try to make everything work, and then just pray that you don't push a button and it explodes everything. So I'm really excited about that. But Ruth, like you and I were talking about, technology is a hammer. And it doesn't matter if you have a regular hammer or a jackhammer or a pneumatic hammer or whatever hammer. If you don't know how to build the house or if you haven't laid the foundation and if you're not using it, that technology is not going to do anything for anybody unless you use it. And if you actually have a strategy, and that's, guys, we didn't plan this, but that's what leads into what we're going to be talking about today is 100% about digital strategies and how to build how to start a digital strategy just so that you can start building from there. That's what we're really going to talk about. But does anyone have any questions about Compass International Holdings before we get started? Happy to address them.
Anybody have anything they want to ask? Now's your opportunity.
See, right there, you can tell I'm a Mike Ferry trained agent because I just answered through my dialogue all of the objections and possible questions that typically come up. So nobody has it. So sign here.
Okay.
You guys ready then? You guys want to get started?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're ready.
All right,
Thanks,
I'm going to
Brett.
share my screen. I think it's this one. You guys can see from there that I have a few different screens. I'm in my remote path. And let me expand this so I can see everybody's beautiful face. Okay, digital essentials. Oh, you can't see that from here. So let's okay. We can go like that. Here, let's move that. I'm live in front of a studio audience,
Yes. Okay.
which is new for me. Well, not new for me, but kind of new for me in this way. So, digital essentials, building blocks for digital success. I would encourage everybody to take notes. If you have any questions, please go ahead and put them. Let me see if I can actually expand this so I can see the chat, which I cannot. So let's do this instead of doing chat. If you guys have a question, comment, just come off mute and let's just talk like we're in the same room. Because right now it just looks like we're on the other side of Windows. So oh, it's over on this screen. You can chat. Let me just move that over to here. All right. So I am from the brand. Always be sure to fully comply with all local, state laws, rules, and regulations, especially as it relates to real estate. And if you have any questions, don't ask me, ask Ruth. So I've summed that up. When I first started having the requirement to actually give that, it was 3 minutes long because they gave me a script that I actually had to read verbatim, and I've gotten it down to like 9 seconds. So that is evolution at hand. TCPA, comply with it. You locally, everyone is independently responsible for it. Yada, yada, yada. And who am I? I think everybody knows who I am. I hope everyone knows who I am, but I'm not going to assume that everybody does know who I am. So I'm Brett Matsuura. For those that don't know, I'm your Vice President of Professional Development for Coldwell Banker. I oversee all of the learning training curriculum for the brand, which consists of around 100,000 agents globally. My biggest focus is, of course, on our agents within the contiguous United States. And quite frankly, you guys are like one of my favorite companies, if not the favorite company, just because you guys operate as a company. You just have your head down, working, doing deals, getting business, sharpening your skills. And to me, that's attractive. And you want to help people who are just out there getting it. And if there's anything that I can do just to give you that slight edge in a market, a lot of times that's all you need. You give everybody a slight different edge, it increases production for everyone. Everybody's happy and buying new boats. So I've been in business, I've been in the real estate industry since 1999. I started out, like many of you, as a solo agent. Started out in Salt Lake City, Utah, closing 60 transactions a year as a solo agent. Not quite sure how things operate here, but in Utah, as a real estate agent, if you catch it, you clean it. You're responsible for everything. You're responsible for contracts, disclosures, filing, everything. Whereas I live in California, and even if you do just a half a transaction a year, which I'm not entirely sure how you do that, you have a full-time office person doing the transaction coordinator. That's not what I ever did. I was always very much in control, and I was doing 60 transactions a year. Had this really great idea that I was going to revolutionize Salt Lake City real estate. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's 4 years into real estate. I opened an office. Did really well. In the first year, I was profitable, which is a big deal. Had over just over 100 real estate agents. And in my market, I was the first company that had cloud brokerage services. We implemented DocuSign, and this was back in early 2000s. So now it's just commonplace. But back then, it was, back then it was what AI is now, is what that was back then. Great Recession happened. Sucked for everybody, with exception to me, because I niched down early into the default space, and I was actually well positioned to take on a lot of bank-owned properties locally that spread to a national team, closed well over 1,000 real estate transactions. And my passion is professional development. I enjoy helping people succeed. I enjoy giving you a sharper edge to hone that knife. I am very competitive, and my competitiveness expands out to you and your local business here in the Keys because number one, I want to see you guys win and win by taking more listings, win by taking more transactions. But it's not just about seeing you guys win and actually make more income. I really like to see the competition lose. And that's just, I don't know. I'm like my son, my 12-year-old son has this new thing that he tells me. He's like, I'm built different. And so he probably got that from me. anyways, that's where I'm at right now. Been an owner, operator, agent, team leader. Everything that I've taught you every time I've come here has been not from theory, it has been from practical application and through a lot of trial and error. And everything I'm going to share with you today, I don't think it's going to be, oh my gosh, Brett just solved cancer. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that you'll probably take one or two things away from it. And my hope is that you don't have to go through the trial and error that I did. No doubt in my mind, on a long enough time frame, you can figure out everything that I'm talking about. But we want to not have to make sure that you guys do it over the next 3, 6, 9, 12, 2 years. We want you to do it in an afternoon. And that's the value of what we're doing here. So here are the learning objectives. And this is what I call goals. This is what I call your ROI on spending the next 45, 50 minutes with me. Number one is that you're going to understand the elements of a digital strategy so you can strategically implement it into your business. So right now, if you're like most people, and I'm not going to pick on our industry, most people, there is so much noise out there. You add AI onto it and it just got up to a factor of 10. But where do you start? We talked about paid ad, we talked about organic, we talked about TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, where do you start and will it work? Because it's not just about, hey, do I need to go in this direction? As independent agents, you're putting resources on the line, not just time, but also financial resources. Financial resources is an investment, but also lost in resources over time if it doesn't fit right. So, where do we start? That's going to answer it for you. We're going to talk about the 4 pillars of a digital strategy and how you can apply them effectively. There's only 4. There's only 4. And this is going to be one of those things that if you don't know it before I share it with you, you're going to go like, yeah, okay, well, that makes sense. Because I think everyone has the knowledge or the potential knowing where to get the knowledge. It's framing it into a system that works is the biggest challenge. And then number 3, how to build and optimize your online presence so you can be found. This session actually ties into the last 2 times I've been here. By raise of hands, who has their camera on, who was here the last 2 times I was here? I talked about, Lynn was. We did the magnetic agent, and then we did value proposition, and then now we're doing digital strategies. There's a long drive from where I was in West Palm Beach. That's a long drive to here. And so I have a lot of time to think about things. And I was talking to Ruth about this, is that I like getting out into the field because when I'm at home base in my office, I'm like death by Zoom, death by Teams. I'm operational. There's a lot of things going on. But when I'm in the element, when I'm with agents, when I'm with leaders, and I'm just thinking about, I'm constantly thinking, how can I help you guys? What can I do to give you guys that sharpened edge? And I'm like, oh, well, God, maybe I should have put this in like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday instead of like 2023, 2024, and 2025. That might have been, and we're going to do that. So I'll let you guys know when we do that. Last is how to develop engaging targeted content that strengthens your personal brand, your Coldwell Banker Schmidt brand, and industry positioning. Ultimately, and write this down, there is a 100% probability that if somebody doesn't know that you exist on planet Earth, you're not getting their business. I mean, that takes us all the way back to high school. My daughter's 14. A boy just now, we got word that wants to invite her to a dance. We shot that down real fast. But popularity is really important when it comes into our business. And popularity for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, going back to high school. But we're going to be talking a lot about that. And I did modify this a little bit just to bring us back to a base level to remember why it is that, or what it is that we have gone over the last couple of years. So I want everyone to go into their chat screen. I think I can do chat. Let me go hi. Did you guys see my hi? Okay, go into chat. I gave you the answers like 2 years ago, which doesn't really count because the answers have changed because data changes. But everyone has to vote in the chat. What percentage of buyers began their home search online? Who says 36, 77, 43? Put it in the chat. Natalie says 77. Frank says 77. Caitlin says 70. What do you say?
77.
Lynn says 77. The button's not working. Dang it. 43%. I know. Natalie's like, what? Yes. So let's frame this. The very first thing when the stimulus enters some consumer's mind about buying a house, what is the very first thing they do? Very first thing. What this is saying is at 43%, they go online. Okay. What is the other, there's the whole data on it, but there's, this is digital strategy. So we're focusing on that. Second, what percentage of all buyers, what percentage of buyers who bought a house use the internet? Was it 89, 96, or 100? What do you got? Josh says 96, 96, 96. Frank says 100. It's 96, 89. Okay. 100. Okay. I know it's unfair, Natalie, and I'll tell you why it's unfair because
Come
2 years ago when I came to here and we did this, the answer was 96.
Yeah.
Last year, 2024 was the first year that it hit 100%. And now they don't even ask the question anymore. So this is actually two years, actually a year and a half ago when it was released. And when I first presented this data to a group, everyone's like, no way, not a problem, no way. So I actually had to pull the graph and show everyone, indeed, it's 100%. But what's interesting about this graph that you can see it, if you look there early 2000s, for those of us in the early 2000s, like right there in the 2000 was like 41%. And then like 2003, 2004, you hit 2000, like 65%. It was a big deal back then when 50%, when we exceeded the use of the internet over 60%. Like prior to that, everyone was thinking that it was like just like the internet was a fad. Well, the internet's not a fad. We're not putting that genie back in the bottle. You're not putting that toothpaste back in the tube. It's here to stay. But I think it's important that we recognize that 100% of the people do use the internet. And so it's not a fad. It's a tool. It's a tool just like anything else. But it's a big tool because it encompasses every one of our lives. Now, here's the other question. What percentage of buyers, they found the home they purchase online? Now, last time I was here, we established that the way that you guys work with buyers is the same way everybody works with buyers. There's that common denominator that goes across all markets. You get a lead, you meet with them, you nurture them, you go on a buyer consultation appointment, you get the buyer agreement signed, you have them drive past properties, you end up scheduling a time to do it, you map out where you're going, and then the day comes and they're like, well, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? Okay, we established that. So this is saying, and you guys are doing it like overachievers, what percentage they found the home. They came to you and said, what about this one? 51%. 51%. That's a big deal. Why is that a big deal? Because when I got into the business, 1999, it wasn't that long ago. Of course, well, my kids say, oh my gosh, you were born in the 1900s. And that makes it sound like really bad because to us, that's like worse than to them because they were born in the 2000s. But that's a big deal because there was a time that we accounted for 100% of where they found their information, where they got the buyers. We were the gatekeepers. It was glorious times. Like you had to reach out to one of us in order to do business, but the things have changed. So take a screenshot of this. This is where home buyers, the most important factors when choosing an agent. Buyers. Now, fun fact, this is uniquely different than what sellers look for. What buyers look for in an agent is not the same as what sellers look for in an agent. So agent experience is number one. Not by far, because agent is honest and trustworthy, 17%. Those numbers over to the right, those are year-over-year changes. Reputation of agent, agent has caring personality, good listener, agent's a friend or family member, agent has knowledge of the neighborhood. That comes in last. Knowledge of the neighborhood comes in last at 9%. Experience comes in number one. Now, if you're newer to the business, don't worry about it. I'll dive into that. But 81% of buyers, They say that these are the top 6 attributes when working with an real estate agent. So we're a listing based, when with your learning team, your professional development team, I say your because we're partners. You have to know is that we focus on listings. We look at buyers as, or when I say we, I say me. And because I'm the tip of the spear, it's us. This is what we look at. We focus on listing based business. We look at buyer business as icing on the cake. And it's just one of those, you get listings, the buyers will come. You get a listing, you market it, you do more than just put it on the MLS. You should get 1 or 2 leads that transact as buyers over time. It's the bait. It's what goes on the mousetrap. It's the cheese that goes on the mousetrap. So, anyways, moving on. Now we're going to do the same experiment when it comes to sellers. What percentage of sellers use an agent or broker? In Washington, they call agents brokers and confuses the crap out of me because where I come from, a broker, it's a different level. But that's why I put agent or broker to sell people who are in the field to sell property. What percentage do you think? 90, 84, 77? Bruce says 90. Caitlin says 90. You say 84? 90.
90, good.
90%.
Good.
So why is this a big deal? Well, nationally, 7 million properties sold pre-COVID, 7 million a year. Last year, we were right around 4 million. Okay, so we're off by like 30%-ish, somewhere around there. Well, what's interesting about that is that we had 90% of 7 million and we still have 90% of 4 million. What that tells you is that most people that you come across who own property, when they're in the market to sell or buy, 9 out of 10 of them, even though they said that they're going to try it on their own, the data shows they only try it on their own for about 30, 35 days until they realize that this sucks. It's like selling your car amplified by 10. And that's where it comes from. So we're in demand. We're always going to be in demand. What percentage of sellers only contacted one agent before finding the right agent they worked with? At 31, 48, 81. What do you think?
81.
Lynn says 81. What do you guys say? 84, 81. Kristen says 81. Got a lot of 81s. 81. 81%. So think about that. 9 out of 10 home sellers work with an agent. 8 out of 10, better than 8 out of 10. 8.1 out of 10. So it's like a leap year. Every 10 years, you get that extra percentage, extra 10%. But 81% only met with one agent. What does that say? That says that all you have to do is make it to the kitchen table, and you don't have, as long as you don't say something really, really dumb, you're walking away with the instant. You're walking away with the business. That's what the data says. And I know for those of you that receive referral business from past clients, from your sphere of influence, you'll know this to be true. Why is that? Because when someone doesn't already know you, like you, and trust you, the relationship they have with that referral business, their mom, their dad, their cousin, whoever it is, their trust gets transferred onto you. Because I know you, like you, and trust you, my wife, my kids, my friends, my family, my coworkers, I'm going to vouch for you so you get the benefit of the doubt because now you automatically transfer. That's how communication works. That's how humans work. That's how it worked in high school. That's how it works now. Now we're just going to learn how to amplify that. Now, the next question is, what do you think is the most important factor for a seller in choosing a real estate agent? Do you think it's commission, reputation, or area knowledge? What do you think?
Reputation.
Lynn says reputation. Josh says he doesn't believe the stat. What stat, Josh? This one? 81%?
I didn't believe the last one. I think people contacted other agents. I'm just going by anecdotally on me. People talk to other agents during even the time they're working with us.
Well, that's the discovery period. You're absolutely right. There is a point in time when somebody's looking and ready, willing, and wanting and actually speaking with an agent. And then there's a point in time when somebody's going to be thinking about that, which could be days, weeks, months, or years before then.
Right.
In between that period is the discovery period. And what we're talking about is consumer behavior on a very macro scale of what are the masses doing on a macro scale as when they're in that discovery period. And this discovery period is happening. So if we look at things as a scale, there's a point in time someone's ready, willing, and wanting to talk to you. We're going to call that a lead has been created. This all predates lead generation.
Okay.
This is the data says that buyers and sellers look anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks. I use that range because I can't remember specifically which one's lower, if it was the buyer or the seller. So we're just going to say 4 to 6 weeks. They research the market for 4 to 6 weeks before they contact someone. And that contacting someone is where our workflow comes in. So everything that we're going to be talking about now is, anyone ever watch, I'm watching this right now, the 2024 season of Alone on Netflix. Anyone watch Alone, the series? Okay. It's a survival show. They get 20 crazy people who like the wilderness. They go drop them off in the middle of nowhere. This happens to be in the Arctic Circle, the one I'm watching. And they let them take, they get to choose like from a list, 10 items they get to take. But other than that, they're alone out there. And they just got to figure out how they're going to survive. So everything that we're talking about now is how are we hunting? How are we trapping? How are we fishing for our leads? Because ultimately, I believe in my time in real estate, I have yet to be disproven on this, that everybody got into real estate to make money. And I don't hold anything against anybody. I wouldn't do what I'm doing for charity, although it's a lot of fun. And I think that's why the Mike Ferry network really talked to me back then, because I was broke and I wanted to make money. So if we all come to the conclusion that we all want to make more money next year than we did last year, what do we have to do with that? We have to do more transactions. We have to close more transactions. If we want to close more transactions, what do we do with that? We have to service more buyers and sellers. Okay, well, what happens before that? We have to go on more appointments. Well, what happens before that? We have to nurture more people in our database. Well, how do we fill our database? We generate more leads. Well, how do we generate more leads? Everything that we're going to be talking about today and what I've done like over the last 3 years with you guys, which again, I should have done Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Everything that we're talking about is that pre-lead generation. It's that consumer behavior. It's that workflow of where's the watering hole? That's what we need to do. If you're going to go get big game, go find the watering hole. If you want to catch a rabbit with a snare, I'm not a survivalist. I just watch TV. You got to watch where the animals are, the animal tracks where they're going. You got to set the trap. You want to catch more fish, you got to get a gill net, or you got to throw lines in the water at a fishing spot. And if you're not catching any, you got to go somewhere where they're at. Sales 101, sales 101. Have a product or service and go where the people are. And it's not just the people, it's hungry people. If you're going to open up a sandwich shop, you got to go to a place where people are hungry. Have you ever gone to an event where somebody's walking around selling hot dogs and no other food or anything else is available? And you're like, ah, that was a good idea. Good on them. We want to feed the hungry crowd, but we've got to be able to capture them with where they're at. And we have a moving target. AI has made things move much more rapidly. And we can talk a little bit more about that. In fact, after hours, for those of you who are here, which is like Lynn, we can talk more about AI too, until you guys, go glossy-eyed over. Like I'm the one who's leading the initiative as far as brokerage across all of the brands for AI, for Compass International Holdings, which, I'm honored in one part, but I'm kind of disappointed in the other, because like I said, I'm very competitive. Like anything I do, I want to share with you guys. I don't want to share with anyone else. Like, how is that going to help you if I come up with some sort of strategy that Century 21 down the road is going to help do the same thing? Like, I don't know. Anyways, I forgot to push that. Reputation. Reputation is the number one reason why people. Ruth, it's a good thing that you told me that I didn't have a time limit, because I don't have to go so fast. You know what? You guys better go out and just like get some water, because I'm going really slow here. Okay, take a screenshot of this. Most important aspects of sellers, what they choose. Now, this is why I said it's very significantly different. 35% of agents say that the reputation is the number one reason why they choose an agent, up 2% year over year. 35%. The next closest one, remember, on the buyer side, it was 18% and 17%. It was a difference of 1%. All you have to do is sneeze and that'll change over the course of the year. But this reputation of agents, 35%, agents honest, trustworthy is 21%. Now, before we go on there, do you think the reputation of being dishonest and trustworthy is what they're looking for? Or do you think that finding an agent that is honest and trustworthy is probably what they're looking for? See, I believe that nobody's looking for the used car salesman. I believe that they're not looking for someone who has a reputation of being dishonest and trustworthy. So I'm going to add those two together. Why? Number one, because I'm the one who has the microphone. But number two, it just makes sense. 35 plus 21, so 56%, up 5% over year. So number three, friend or family member, 16%. Cousin Bob doesn't cut it past your reputation and honest and trustworthy. Knowledge of neighborhood down 10%. Remember what knowledge of neighborhood was actually number 6 on the buyer side, number 4 here, but it's down 1%. Agent has a caring personality and good listener, 5%. Commissions, 4%. You know what's interesting about the whole commission one? Because that came in at number 6 at 4%. Nobody ever says, like on the last thing, nobody ever says that it's the most important thing that sellers and buyers want is looking for the cheapest deal. But you know what's interesting is that anytime I'm doing a skills workshop and we're doing objection handling, like the whole hour is talked about how do we rebuttal objections. But yet everybody recognizes that that's not the most important facet. But yet, so there's a contradiction somewhere around there. But here's the thing. Commission's not the most important. It most importantly isn't to me, but I got to know what I'm getting for that commission. I got to know what I'm paying for. So it's a variable. And that's the class that none of you guys remember that I did last year. How we talked about, and I'm going to do an encore with that. So Frank, hold me accountable, and Ruth, hold me accountable to that. Let's get the whole trio back on that.
Okay.
Now I know that I have an unlimited amount of time that I can come and spend with you guys virtually. I can do it from a cab, from an Uber, especially with Starlink. Are you guys using Starlink here?
I think we are. I don't know if we are, if the company is or not.
We aren't, but there's a lot of boats in South Florida and
Okay.
everywhere that use it.
Yeah. I thought about doing that and just put it on my backpack, but then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I really don't go a whole lot of places where I don't have internet.
It's a love-hate relationship. I was
Yeah.
just in Costa Rica heading out offshore, so
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at these numbers. I want to point something that's blatant to me, but I want to make sure that it's very straightforward to you. When you look at this, 56% of sellers, remember, we focus on listings. We're a listing-based training organization. We promote getting listings, and as a benefit, you get buyer business. 56% said that your reputation of being honest and trustworthy is the most important factor. And it's so important that the data also shows that if you have a reputation of being honest and trustworthy, you don't even actually have to care, nor do you have to be a good listener, because that's what the data shows. You just have to be a person with a strong reputation of being honest and trustworthy. But how do you do that? Because remember, we're talking beforehand of that. Now, here's the comparison side by side. Two things that doesn't show on each side. Okay. On the buyer side, agent experience doesn't show up on the listing side. Did you guys catch that? Reputation of being honest and trustworthy, area knowledge showed up, experience didn't show up. Does that mean it's not important? No, it is important. You knowing how to do a transaction, you doing a lot of transactions, being aligned with CB Schmidt that does the majority of the transactions in the keys, that's a big deal because that's part of the whole honest and trustworthiness. And if it's not, if you are going up against somebody else, you need to plant that seed to make sure. You need to start brushing up on your neuro-linguistic programming skills. You need to embed that, how important it is for honest and trustworthiness, the fact that we know how to do transactions. Now that's like full on like Jedi mind trick kind of stuff. First taught to me by Matthew Ferry back in the day. Ruth, you remember that back when Math Ferry came out with, you remember that? He came out with NLP. I think he's coming back out with it. I keep seeing things in California that's coming up on it. But the other side of the equation that didn't come up on the buyer side equation is commission. Now, commission's only the most important factor to 4% of sellers, but it didn't even come into the top 6 on the buyer side. And what that does, it tells us that what somebody pays for something is not typically all that important. It's knowing what you're getting for what you're paying is not important. Now, I would bet dollars to dimes, and I'm going to go a little bit extreme here, that if you were having chest pains, that you're going to go find the best doctor to evaluate you. And while how much it costs per hour or what there's a factor into it, it's not the limiting factor. It's not the deciding factor on that. And the same holds true. You know, when I was there was a time when I closed my team down, my national foreclosure team, that I opened up a default resolution company. We call those now mod shops, loan modification shops. Now you don't have to do them because they're just like, you know, they're just like getting a loan application. They're not that hard anymore. But back then they were. And I had this sales floor of 20 inbound agents because I did massive direct response marketing to people who were in default. And, you know, back then in 2010, 11, there was a lot of people still in default trying to figure things out. Then that water got really, really murky, and it got just too murky for me to stay in. And so that's when I went into franchise sales. But anyways, the reason why I'm sharing that, I came up with a talk track when everybody comes up with the price objection. It doesn't matter if it's a house. It doesn't matter if it's a pair of shoes. It's the consumer behavior is the same whenever you transact. And if you want me to prove that to you, think about the last time you went to Amazon and you were considering buying a set of batteries versus another set of batteries. And you went, you know, one was $10, one was $8. And you went in and read way too many testimonials or feedback on it. We all care about what you get versus what you pay. It's just that's what it is. And so what I came up with in that talk track, because the service area was like, you know, there was a structure of $3,000 to $5,000 depending on the size of the loan, was, hey, this is a lot like being accused of a crime and needing an attorney. I said, it's not a big deal if you get a traffic ticket. Most people can handle their own traffic ticket. In fact, you'll just plead it out. But if there was like a serious allegation to you, like a serious tax, you know, Uncle Sam, we're in real estate, heads up, taxes are coming up in April. If there was a serious crime, you're accused of it. Whether you're innocent or guilty is irrelevant, but you're typically going to go out and find the best experienced person that has the best track record to give you the best result for what you can spend, for what you can afford. Okay. Now we relate this. This is an NLP tactic. Now this situation is just like that situation. That's how you connect the two if you want to do that. I wasn't planning on turning this into any type of skill development, but I'm just kind of freestyling. And I'm like, look, I'm in a conference room with 2 monitors on batteries. So, and Ruth's on the other side of the door with this live studio audience. So, I actually have no idea. There was a point coming into that, but I can't remember what it was. So I'm going to leave you guys with a hook there and come back to it. But what that says, though, these are the factors of what we really need to focus on. So summing it up, 43% of buyers started their home search online. 100% of buyers use the internet as a tool. 90% of sellers used an agent. 81%, so like the whole body minus a leg and a finger, they only interviewed one agent. 56% of sellers said the most important factor is a reputation of being honest and trustworthy. And now here's the new one. You know what Google says? Google says that 88% of all consumers, they've already made the decision on who they're going to work with or what they're going to buy well before they meet with any of us. Think about that. When was the last time you went and bought a car? When was the last time you went and bought a pair of shoes? When was the last time you went and tried a new restaurant? What did you do? You went to most people, 88% of us. So 88% of all of us on this, all but maybe one or two people, you went to Google first, you searched it, and then you went and looked at their menu. We went to Lazy Days last night. Been to Lazy Days before. We liked that restaurant. But you know what I did before I went there? I pulled up Lazy Days. I pulled up their menu and I looked at it. I've been here before. I come here every time I come and visit you guys. We stop off of that Lazy Days over, I don't know, north of here. I can't remember what Isla Mirada.
Oh.
I still call it Isla. Stupid tourist. But 88% of consumers, they choose the product. So here's the thing. We talk a lot about lead generation. Lead generation is a category. Everything you do for lead generation is an activity. That comes down to prospecting. That comes down to marketing. That comes down to trapping and hunting and follow-up. It's getting the lead. It's feeling your database. The technology helps you once you get them in the database. That's all what the technology does. But we need to start setting the traps. We need to throw the lines in the water. We need to build out the comprehensive lead generation strategy conducive for 2026. So there are 3 truths in this. How long are we doing this? Oh, that's 15 minutes. We're not doing too bad. I thought I was talking a lot longer than that. So truths. A real estate professional's highest priority is to find now business, and their second priority is to find future business. Okay, now business. We eat what we kill. That's just happens. That's why I like using these survival shows, is that if you don't close a deal, you don't eat, right? So I have not lost sight of that, nor has your leadership in Coldwell Banker. We're the only senior leadership team in a major brand, at least brands that matter, that have every level came from producing real estate in production. So every decision that's being made, up to Jason, up to Kate, who you guys know, she's here as well with us, gonna be at your guys' award, and me. We all come, the people who are agent facing and brokerage facing and consultant facing, we all come from the trenches. And so we recognize that we need to generate more leads. And we also recognize that it's a 90 to 100-day cycle to nurture a lead into a transaction. And that counts the whole discovery period and everything. Now, that 100 days only starts when they become aware of you, become in your in your sphere, in your database. There's still 4 to 6 weeks that they're doing on their own, that they're looking at maps and they're deciding on their camp areas that closest enough to water. They're doing the search on school systems and the grocery stores and how much is the HOA and how much are property taxes, and that's all happening on the back end. But future business, that's important too. Well, that's just database nurturing. That's lead follow-up. So we got to get now business, which is finding people who are motivated. My definition of now business, just so that we're clear, because everybody in their business is a different definition of now business. When I talk about now business, I'm talking about someone who is willing to sign a representative agreement. Now I'm just making up words. Representation agreement, a listing agreement, a buyer agreement within the next 30 to 45 days. Why? Because that means that they're in the market to transact. They need to sell a house or buy a house in the next 100. That's my definition of it. Now, I encourage you to take that same definition, if not lower. Why? Because you find what you're looking for. If you don't have a clear determination, if you don't have a clear understanding of what you're looking for, you're going to find it. That's it. Ruth and I were talking about deadlines on determining a by when it comes into it, because there's a law, it's like Murphy's Law, but it's not like a law. You're going to go to jail for it. And I can't remember the actual name for it. It'll come to me too, like after we end this, but it says that work expands to the time allotted. Now, in the corporate world, in the brand world, I can tell you, if I give someone actually it happened in college and in high school too. You give me a program or a plan that has to be done in 3 months, I'll get it done in the last week. It'll be done on time, but it'll be done in the last like week or two. So number two, truth number two, people want to work with those who they know, like, and trust, and those they know are in real estate. That's in the data. We already know that people, 56% of people, they want to, the most important factors are a reputation of being honest and trustworthy. What's that mean? They know you, they like you, they trust you. They know that you're in real estate. That's a big problem. If they know you, like you, and trust you, and they have zero idea that you were in real estate, that's when you get offended when your neighbor 2 or 3 houses down, the for sale sign goes up. And you know what stings even worse? And I see some people shaking their head. This ever happened to you, Lynn? Is that when you're like, hey, why'd you list your property? I'm in real estate. And they go, I didn't know you were in real estate. Did that ever happen to you?
Oh,
Yeah, that stings. And then it stings a second time, and then you sting the third time. And then you typically around the third or fourth time, you either figure it out or you become immune to it. Number 3, I've already said this, is that there's a 100%. What? Someone have a question? Oh, no, that was Ruth's office. Truth number 3, there is a 100% probability that if a seller doesn't know that you exist, you have no chance of listing their property. Okay, so it took me 20 minutes to rehash the last 2 years, bring us up to a base level to let's fix that. Let's talk about fixing that. And that comes into your digital strategy. Now, this is not a replacement for what you guys do. That's the big thing, what people don't understand. I'm not coming and giving you guys a magic lamp that all we have to do is rub and it's going to give you guys just a bunch of three wishes. This digital strategy is meant to be implemented into your already existing strategy. Okay, we're not changing anything. We just want to amplify what you're currently doing. And the way that we do that is that we actually have to define it. You always have to, if we're going to do something, we have to clearly define what it is that we're going to do. So a digital strategy is a comprehensive plan, business plan. It's part of your business plan. It's a comprehensive part of your business plan. It's a comprehensive plan that outlines how an organization or an agent, you are that organization, will use digital technology and channels to achieve its business objectives. Now, I believe wholeheartedly that this organization, the wonderful agents that make up this organization, you guys have a business plan. And I hope that you pull out that business plan. It's a living document. It's supposed to have SMART goals. You guys ever heard of SMART goals? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, timely. Okay, I adopt smarter goals. Number 1, because we have to be better than someone else, because that's inherently important to me. But number 2, it just makes sense. You can't just come up with a plan. The E and the R stands for evaluate and reassess. You have to evaluate and reassess. Now, this comes back to my Marine training, is that when you're actually doing things, there's a saying that the best laid out plan never survives first contact. And what that means is that once you get into it and once you start executing it, you're going to come up with problems. And you're going to have to evaluate the problem, and you're going to have to reassess and readjust for that problem. So your business plan that you start out with in January, 80% of it should be the same. Like, you should be different in in December when you start doing things, because if you don't, you're not using it as a tool that you need to track it. And I know that being a Mike Ferry office, you guys track your numbers. You should be tracking every number. You should, my opinion, of course, is a lot of people talk about tracking contacts. I think you also need to track dials, because when you track dials, you get a percentage of what the answer ratio is. When you get the answer ratio, you know what the conversion ratio is. You can track that all the way down. If you're sending out note cards, how many note cards are you sending out? How many of them actually respond? If we're doing anything on digital, if you're going to spend money on marketing, on Facebook ads, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but if you're going to do anything, spending time or money on some sort of activity meant for lead generation, it's not a viable activity if it can't be tracked. Now, I'm that guy. I have a stack like this. I have a stack like this of mailers that come to me. I live in Irvine, California. I live in a good area. It's the former, you guys ever see Independence Day? The movie of Aliens? What's funny with that, fun fact on that, that might come out to be like like fact, not fiction, because now they're talking about like releasing all that data. But they rallied the F-15s from the Marine Corps El Toro Air Base, and that was decommissioned in 1994, and they redeveloped that into a luxury living environment, and that's the area that I live. And I love the fact that I live on a former Marine Corps Air Base because they're still like they're going to build a museum and they have all this kind of cool stuff. I live just off of Marine Way. How great is that? But anyways, the I got to stop getting off on tangents. There was a point. There was a really important point that I was coming to make there, but it'll come back to me. Let's get back online, and then I'm going to interrupt this again, shall we? Digital strategy, comprehensive plan that outlines how an organization will use digital strategies in their business. Digital strategy elements. There are 4. Remember, this is one of those promises I'm giving to you. Digital strategy is broken up into 2 categories. Just 2. You have search and you have social. AI is kind of one that's coming into it, but it more amplifies the whole digital and social strategy. Now, on the social strategy, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have LinkedIn, and you have X. So my 14-year-old makes it, and my 10-year-old makes it very, very clear to me, number 1, that I'm losing my hair, and number 2, that Facebook is for old people. And I'm like, well, okay. That's important because when you start looking at the demographics of who's buying and who's selling, it's the people who are in their late 40s into older age, into their 60s, and even into their early 70s. That's the demographic that can afford to buy and sell property right now. So when you look at the demographics, you'll notice I don't have everything on there. I didn't fill up this whole box. I filled up Facebook because Facebook, for the demographic that's buying and selling real estate, they're the 800-pound gorilla still. Now, that's not to say that people of younger age are not buying and selling. Not entirely sure how active the millennials are in this network. But if that's part of your business plan, if you attract that's part of you, then yes, we have to add that into it. But Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn gives you a tremendous amount of information that you can control, that shares with consumers your background of experience and area knowledge. So you've got to optimize for that. X, formerly Twitter, that continues to grow and grow and grow. Just if you guys don't know that they are right now in beta working on X Money. It's a wallet. It's going to allow people to transfer money across the world, purchase things in app. There's a lot of different things that are coming on from the technology standpoint that could very well affect the way that consumers behave, which is a big deal because, again, if we're hunting, we want to make sure that if we're going to set traps or we're going to go fishing, we got to go to the right fishing hole, choose whatever analogy that I've been using that I forget what I'm going with. I am getting older. I'm like talking full sentences and I'm like, what was I talking about? But then we have search, but then the other side of that, social is search. This is the one area that most people ignore. And yet it's the one area that all consumers go to. I would bet dollars to dimes that every single one of us on this call has engaged with Google at least once today. Maybe not Facebook, probably, but Google probably for certain. Because it has, depending on what study you're going for, Google has anywhere between low 90s and mid 90% of world search traffic. When you have a question, where do you go? When you have a question, you go to Google. You don't go to Facebook. You don't go to Facebook and type in, where do I go to eat in Marathon, Florida? You don't do that. You go to Google. And then you also have YouTube on there. Now, YouTube is interesting because it's somewhat search and social. If Google didn't exist, YouTube would be the top search engine on the planet. YouTube would be the top search engine on the planet if Google didn't exist. But Google does exist. And Google bought YouTube about a dozen years ago, and they bought it for like $6 billion, where at the time it made headlines going, what are you guys doing? These guys are crazy. You know that they make up their investment on Google every 2 weeks? That's how much stuff is going on YouTube. Now, here's the fun fact about YouTube. It's the only platform where 90% of all demographics engage with it. It's the only platform. The millennial engages with it. My 10-year-old engages with it. The older crowd engages with it. It's the one platform that is consistent across demographics. Is that important? Absolutely, it's important. And that's your core, that's a core strategy. So a complete strategy, this is 2 of them. Now I told you there's 4 of them. You have a social strategy, you have a search strategy. Here's the other 2. You have a paid and organic. You have a paid social strategy, you have organic social strategy. You have a paid search strategy, you have an organic strategy. Now we layer AI on top of this. Now, I didn't really dive into it on this, but by the time I get around doing this as a trio, as a 3-day session, I will. AI, you're seeing a lot of experts. You know, the great thing about today is that you can just call yourself an expert. But the experts are saying, or people are saying, that Chat GPT, people are searching using chat, and then it's going to take Google down. No, it's not. Why? Because Google has 25 years of consumer behavior that people go there. Now you're utilizing, some of you are doing the same thing I'm doing. You're using Chat GPT, and then it goes to Google, it's going to Reddit. Story broke just recently. What's interesting, you guys are probably starting to see a lot of Reddit. When you ask a question into Chat GPT, a lot of responses are coming from Reddit. What's interesting is that I just read this yesterday, is that the CEO of Chat GPT, he has a silent interest in Reddit. I'm not surprised. I don't think anyone's surprised, but whatever. Neither here nor there. That was just more of a fun fact. But you have Google Gemini. So I have 3 AIs that I use, and I'll be coming. We'll be putting kind of a digital strategy AI course together. I use 3 different AIs. Number 1 is I use Gemini. Gemini, you have to have Google Workspace. Google Workspace is awesome because you don't have to pay. It's not an add-on. It's just part of it. For those of you who don't know what Google Workspace is, it's Google's version of like Microsoft Office. You get Gmail hosting, you get Google Meet, you get a lot of variety of things, and it's just an add-on service. But Google Gemini is their AI, and it ties directly into their 25 years of consumer behavior search. So if you ever want to do a deep dive on search, when you go to Google and you search something and you ask for its AI, you push that AI button, that's Gemini. Okay, so that's what you do when you do search. My next AI that I use is Grok, Grok. That's X's. That's Elon Musk's AI. Why do I use that? Because it's the only AI that is tied directly into the X platform, and it has real-time sentiment from real people. It's monitoring the conversations that are happening. You want to know what's going on in the world? A lot of different countries are starting to use it as its number 1 source for news. You can, if you want to know what's happening from a real-time, not data, the data I showed you is like 12 months old because it takes 12 months to collect it and then come back. But if you want to know what's happening real time, what's the conversation around interest rates? What's the conversation about inventory in Texas, in Florida, whatnot? I would use that for Grok. The third one I use is no longer Chat GPT. It used to be Chat GPT. I call it my general AI. I now use Anthropic Claude as my general AI. That's my go-to one. Now, why am I using Anthropic Claude? I'm using Anthropic Claude because, number 1, it has Claude code in it. Real estate professionals, we all wear a lot of different hats. Some of it has to do is figuring out how to write code and such. The reason why I know how to do a lot of different things is because I came up as an operator and I didn't have the funds. I had a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of funds. So I had to go and teach myself new skills. Claude Code does like all of that and send you a birthday card with it. But it also, I find that when it creates content, it's more natural. I like the way it creates its output on content. Like every one of them is really close, but I don't have three. I have the paid version for Grok. I have it for Gemini, and I have it for Gemini. I can't really say I pay for it because I was paying for it anyways because of my workspace. I have my own domain, Brett Matsuura, and I have the email Brett at Brett Matsuura, and I've had that since before I was in real estate. So, but then Anthropic. So that's it. So paid strategy, organic strategy. So those are the four. And we need to make sure that we're firing on all, I guess, all 8 cylinders. I guess that works here. You have to have a paid social, paid organic, organic social, organic search, organic paid. And that gives you a comprehensive. Now, remember, what's the goal here? The goal here is to generate leads. That's it. The goal here is to help you nurture leads. The goal here is to help your existing activities be more efficient. The goal here is to make sure that people know you, like you, and trust you, so you can just come get the come list me calls. That's what we're talking about, and that's where this foundation comes in. Some of you already have this. Some of you have all of this. Some of you, not all of it, but we're going to break it down into 4 areas. Number 1 is you always have to identify your ideal client market. Identify your ideal client market. Where do you work? It's not California. It's the Keys. Like, where do you focus on? 2 years ago, when I came to you guys and talked to you guys with version 1, now I'm on like version 5 of the magnetic agent. I talked to you about the importance of identifying who your ideal client is, because until you know who that is, you've got to talk to them differently. For example, we know that buyers and sellers look at 2 different things from a very general standpoint. We know that the most important factor for a buyer is agent experience. We also know that the most important factor for sellers is your reputation of being honest and trustworthy. So if you're going to be focusing on an area of sellers, you got to know how to talk to them. But until you actually identify who you're going to work with or what you want to be, you're just going to be, playing darts in the dark. Curate your online profile. That's huge. Remember, we know that 100% of pretty much everybody, look, if they're not going online, they're not your ideal client. I'm just going to be honest. Now, the data I shared with you was based off of people who completed a survey. They bought a house, they sold a house, they completed a survey, likely an online survey. So that reflection does not show the people who did not have internet. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, if you come across a client who lives in such a rural area that doesn't have internet, you need to refer that person out to your nemesis. Find the person that you like the least in real estate in your market and refer it out to them, because what that's going to do, it's going to take them out of the game. It's going to put time, effort, and resources on that one person that might not even transact, and it's taking them out of the game, and that's going to give you that inch open door that you got to take them out at the knees. That was violent. That was a violent. Create targeted content. We talked about that during the magnetic agent, and then distribute your content. Distribute. You know what I saw at Lazy Days? I have not seen this for a decade, and I think it's great. I saw the real estate book. Now, half that book was all of you guys, but I saw the real estate book, and I'm like, print average. I think that, I'm noticing myself saying a lot, and it's because of AI and it's because of technology, that what is old is new again. Like we went really far to the left on wanting to do this virtual stuff, and it's convenient. It's great. But it also, over time, the demand for me to get out in person and do in-person training is higher. That in-person communication, we starved ourselves for it, and now that's big again. You know what else is big again? Direct response marketing, directly to the mailbox. If you do it right, it has to align with 2026. You can't do the playbook that you had in 1999. It's not going to work as well. You have to evolve it. I'm pretty sure that every single one of you aren't operating on Windows DOS. that conflicted it. I'm pretty sure you guys aren't operating your computer on DOS. You have some sort of version of Windows, and most of you have a Mac or an iPhone. We still have the same strategies. It's still the same thing, but we're evolving with the times. That's why I say what is old again is new. And that's where it comes in with this. So here's the thing, your ideal client avatar, sharing you guys with this, they own a home. If we're a listing-based business, if we're focusing on listing business, then the primary focus needs to be people and filling your database on people who own real estate. Now, you will come up with people saying, I'm not interested in selling, and that's fine. And you might come up with people who are going to say, I'm going to die in this house. And your rebuttal should be, do you have any chance when that might be? Because that turns into a transaction for you. That's a lead. That now you have a timeline. Now you have something you can work with. But they need to own a home. And just because someone tells you today that they're not in the market, that their mindset right now, their situation right now says that they're never going to sell, doesn't mean in a year or 2 or 3 or 6 months that they're going to do it. They may not sell, but you know who is going to sell? Their probate, the executor of the estate of their probate. They are. So there's a lot of different things if you're in the long game for real estate that we have to look at from a lot of different angles, and we got to set our traps up. We got to set up our systems to operate independently. We're gonna after you get off this call, you're gonna have a system that's operating 24/7 that doesn't require you to have a whole lot of engagement into it. You know what's even more crazy about that? Give it another 12 months. If you guys have ever heard of this software called OpenClaw, it's an open source. It is an agentic agent that runs on an independent computer that does all this stuff for you. It's not to the level yet that I'm going to go and I'm going to do a national training class to the entire network. But it's there right now to let you guys know on the radar that that exists now, that you can actually text your computer at home, book me a flight on United that's coming to do travel plans. It will do it for you. It's the only other person that I know that's probably playing with it is Frank. So yeah, see, told you so. But then the other thing that I read today is that version 5 of the Optimus robot is going to be produced out of the Fremont factory, and it's coming to market, and they're going to be building like 1 million robots out of the Fremont market starting in 2026. That's where we're at within, and look, I don't think that we're there yet, that we have to worry about a robot showing properties for us. But you know what you can do? You can buy a robo-taxi, and you can now hopefully sit in the car and enjoy, champagne while you're going around showing properties. Like utilizing it strategically as a tool is just awesome. They own a home, they live in your market area, and they want to sell. The first 2 are data points. You can find people who own home. Absentee owners. You know what? I'm pretty sure I'm going to come up with a strategy, and that's going to encourage, I'm going to share something with you that it's like water's wet or ice is cold, but I would venture to guess that there's a lot of absentee owners here in the Florida Keys. I would also venture to guess or speculate that there's very few people that have a monthly market newsletter that acts as a investment guide that goes off to them like clockwork in the mail. Everybody does email, but in the mail, like a bank statement, sharing with them what's happening. Look, they may not be willing to sell right now. Look, I have a lot of stocks right now that I'm not looking to sell right now. I'm good. But I look at my investment statement every single month to see if it's gone down or gone up. And quite frankly, sometimes it's gone up so much that I thought about selling. And that one decision could be that tipping point. Now, let's go into you. Let's talk about you. If someone Googled you, what would they find? If someone Googled you, what would they find? Now, from a consumer behavior standpoint, I know that, and it's fine. I know that all of us, except me and Lynn, are multitasking right now. That's just what happens. You have your supercomputer phone next to you. You have multiple screens. You have construction going out your window. That's just the way it is. So I know that a lot of you are now Googling yourself. And if you are Googling yourself, you have to put it in an incognito mode because you don't want anything to influence the search. We want to make it look like if somebody wanted to move into the Florida Keys from Oklahoma and they were looking for an agent, what would they find? What would they find? Okay, that's our starting point. We need to make sure they find you, is what it is. So, and that means that we have to curate your online profile. It's not just one thing, it's a collection of things. It's a web. Remember how they used to call the internet the World Wide Web? God, wouldn't that be dating? I don't even think my kids know that term. How we used to type in www. I don't even think they know that. I had to explain to them what I meant by rolling up the window. They're like, Dad, what does rolling up the window mean? I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, here is Googling your online profile. And one benefit that you guys have is, Frank's really heavy into this stuff and can kind of help you guys out. I'm here to help any way I can, but you guys have a local resource. The number one thing that I think that everybody should do, that if you don't have it done today, if you don't have it, you could very easily have it done today, is to set up a Google Business Profile. Google Business Profile. That is a free tool that allows you to control the way that your business, you are your business, that appears on Google. This is what it looks like. I Googled CB Schmidt, Coldwell Banker Schmidt. Everything on that left side of the screen is organic. That is organic. At the very top, you have sponsored stuff, but that's just what comes up. If Coldwell Banker Schmidt didn't have a Google Business Profile, the right side of this screen would just be blank. So if you Googled your name and you have a right side of this screen is blank, that means you don't have a Google Business Profile. And it's free. There's no reason why you shouldn't have it. At a bare minimum, now here's what most agents do. They get it and that's all they do with it. Like you can use Google when you're building out a blog post, when you have a video, when you have a property coming to market, you can tie that in directly into your Google Business Profile, and it amplifies your activity into it from a Google search standpoint. You know what? We're just going to stop there. Just do that. I'm kidding. I'm like, I'm done here, and drop the mic. Number two, this is me. So this is, if you guys Google Brett Matsuura, this is what should come up. Now, I have a lot of different profiles going on, and I've successfully confused Google, because depending on where you're at, if you Google me, whether you're incognito or not, my business profile will show up or it won't. You might find something on rucking. I shared with you guys last time I was here. I'm a big rucking person. You might find something on business, but this is what I found when I Googled myself preparing for this. But what you'll find is the whole page is me. It's like I'm the only Brett Matsuura on planet Earth, which could possibly be true, but I don't believe it is true. And I'm going to tell you why. My brother's name is Wayne Matsuura. And when you Google his name, because he doesn't optimize, he hasn't been in business like as long, he's not even in business, he's employed. So it just searches it, and they found another Wayne Matsuura on planet Earth. My daughter, she's 14, her name's Ayla. Apparently there is an athlete named Ayla, and that's not a common name. So what's more important is if your name is Bob Smith. And the funny thing is, I actually used this example when there was actually an agent in the crowd. His name was Bob Smith. It's more important for you to do this and optimize your profile. If you share a name with an important historical figure like George Washington, you need to optimize your online profile for local real estate, because otherwise the wrong George Washington, the wrong Bob Smith is going to show up. This is the big Google Business Profile for Coldwell Banker Schmidt Real Estate. Wouldn't it be great if somebody, remember, they're only going to Google your name if they know you. And going back to consumer behavior, guess what the consumer does when they find out your name? When they got a name from their aunt and they're saying, they refer you, Natalie, and I know Natalie because she participated in one of our Agents Helping Agents. They referred you. Guess who they're going to Google? They're going to Google Natalie. Caitlin, you're at the top of my screen. If someone refers you, guess who the consumer is going to Google if they get your name? It is consumer behavior. And they're going to probably do it from their phone. So we've got to just make sure that we're optimizing our business for what most people will do from a behavioral standpoint. YouTube's free. YouTube's free and it's important. Why is it important? Because I just shared with you that 90% of every demographic uses YouTube on a daily basis. There is more content on, like YouTube is just like they're if Google is the 800-pound gorilla, YouTube is the 8-ton gorilla. It's Godzilla. It's not even a gorilla. It's Godzilla. So everybody should have a YouTube channel. You know, you might not like yourself on video. I don't like myself on video. You might not like the way that your voice sounds. Look, I don't like the way my voice sounds. People have told me that I have a voice like I'm in a boy band, like still. But here's the thing is my voice and my looks to you is just normal. It's internally that I have a problem with it. Now, I'm also going to share with you something. When you start your YouTube page, you're going to suck. It's going to happen. You know what? When you did your first transaction, it wasn't as smooth as the ones that you do now. You sucked, but you got through it. You figured it out. You learned a new skill. You got better at it. You get better at things. It's role playing. You need to role play. You need to shadow box scripts and dialogues for YouTube. The great thing about your organization is that we're cut from the same cloth. You are better equipped as agents in this organization than any other organization that subscribes to any other type of training. Why? Because it's the only organization that I know of today that still promotes and expects practice. Practice it. Come up with a script. What kind of script? Go to Claude, go to ChatGPT. Tell them what you're trying to say. Tell them you want a 90-second script on how to preview property. Remember how I talked to you guys about that, previewing property? I think I put that back in here. Yourname.com. You need to have it. I have brettmatsuura.com. If my name was Bob Smith, it would be bobsmithrealty.com. It would be bobsmithre.com. It would be bobsmithisamazingrealestate.com. It would be bobsmithfloridarealestate.com. Like, the key is that you got to put your name in it. Your name is you, your brand. Now, what I wouldn't do is FloridaKeysIsAwesome.com. Why? Because the consumer, if they're not going to know to search that unless they know to search that, and they're going to know your name and they're going to search your name. Comes back down to behavior. Now, there's nothing wrong with having both. You can do both, but I would say your primary name needs to have your full name in it. Now, if your name is Patrick and you go by Pat, I would encourage you to use Pat. Now, I go by Brett. It doesn't matter if it's with one T or two T's. It's the same thing. So it works for me. What people mostly screw up is my last name. They think that I have two R's instead of two U's in my name. I don't get it. Probably has to do with I was raised saying my name wrong. But yeah, for those of you who want to know, my last name is Japanese. It's supposed to be said Matsuura, like a samurai, Matsuura, not with an ER sound. Little fun fact about me. LinkedIn you need to have. LinkedIn gives you that juice. You get to control your past. Now, I want to rephrase that. Now, I don't want to rephrase. I want to amplify what I just said. Your story is your story. Your past is your past. You need to optimize that like it's a resume, because it is. You need to identify who your ideal client is, and you need to make sure that your resume reads like the person that they need to hire. And the way that you tell your story is completely up to you. Completely up to you. You want to say that you're the master of the universe? You get to add that to your resume. That's it. Add it to your resume. Facebook. Facebook has over 2.9 billion monthly users on it. It's the largest social media site in the world. You add Instagram to it, which we're going to have separate on here. It's huge. Or if you want to quote Donald Trump, it's huge. It's huge. So You need to have Facebook because our demographic for real estate is on Facebook. There is no indication that that is changing anytime soon. The only thing that typically that I think is going to happen with AI, it's going to cause additional confusion. Additional confusion that's going to want somebody to make it unconfusing. And social media is a good place for you to. Now, social media, you need to have your own personal page, yes, but you also need to have a business page. Important. Why? You can't do a paid social strategy without a business page. You just can't. You can't run ads with your personal profile. You might be asking yourself, hey, Brett, how do you run ads? It's a really great question. We're going to come up with a course on how to do that. Frank probably knows. Ask Frank. And I'll tell you what, if Frank doesn't know, he'll know by the end of the day. Oh, see, I do have a time limit. Okay. I'm wrapping it up. I was told I have a time limit. Instagram, free photo sharing application owned by Meta. So that ties into both Facebook and Instagram. X, formerly Twitter, growing exponentially ever since they took it over. This is where people get their news from. If your if your audience is a person, a professional that get news, you definitely want to be on X. And then industry sites, Realtor.com, Zillow. You guys may have heard that Robert Refkin, our new CEO of Compass International Holdings, he just inked a deal with Redfin. And Redfin and Rocket Mortgage that gives tremendous incentives on whether to use it. Now, whether or not you utilize that or not, that's up to you and your business. That's his goal of giving you tools that your competitors don't have. See, I think that right out of the gate, offering buyers the incentive of either $6,000 towards closing costs or a 1% interest rate reduction for their first year, that's something that EXP can't offer, or Century 21 can, but EXP can't, or these other ones. Keep your message consistent. A confused mind always says no. Have you guys ever gone up and actually found a picture of someone who you're looking for, and then you found the same picture and you actually spent way too much time trying to compare if that's the same person? Yeah. Your consumer is going to do the same thing to you. So if you're going to build out a digital profile, make sure that you're using the same profile picture. Make sure that you're using the same value proposition. Make sure you're using the same branding, colors, and images. We've made that really easy for you because you're using the Coldwell Banker branding and such. And then have a call to action. Please, if you don't listen to anything that I just said on that, have a call to action. All of those things that I collect in my neighborhood. Oh, that's where I was coming at. I knew it would come up to it. I live in a luxurious, a luxury retreat style neighborhood, and there's no dominant winner in that neighborhood. But all of those things that I get, it's like, hey, look at me. I'm number one in the area. There is no call to action. There is no, at a minimum, call me to get your free comparative market analysis. Now that's been used since the cow's been come home. So I think we can do better than that. But we need to have some sort of call to action that the consumer will enter into your database, a reason for them. Join my free monthly newsletter and know what's happening with the value of your home is a really good option to have, because they're opting into that. And it's typically going to be attractive to home sellers. Last is distribute and deploy content. So create content that would be relevant to your ideal client. I want you to take a really good look at this. And this is what has happened over the last 2 decades because of technology. Direct mail, still effective. You know that direct mail, like in the country of Dubai, does not even exist. Like there are countries that don't even have direct mail. We have direct mail, so still use it. But email, for communication standpoint, is the modern version. Networking, we used to always have those networking events that we would always go to. Now they're far and few between. Now that's been replaced with social media, social groups, television, YouTube, radio. You have podcasts, newspaper, you have blogs. But the underlying strategy all remains the same. So regardless that the technology has changed the tool has been upgraded, the underlying systems and fundamentals remain the same, because at the end of the day, we're just people. And people want to get to know people, but you have to know where the business is occurring to do that. And staying top of mind, this is what I shared with you in one of the sessions I came here before. This is the area for you to create content. If you're going to focus on a primary market area, start building out area content. Area content like a zip code, grocery stores, school districts, high schools, middle. Now I know you guys you guys got on me last time I was here. I didn't know that you guys only had one high school and such, but you know, there's an area of each area which contradicts itself. That's the content. Talk about the neighborhood. I know that you guys have neighborhoods. You have HOAs, you have property taxes, you have utilities. There's a lot of things you can talk about it. You have property. One of the things I encourage people to be is to be that reporter. You are professionals. You are real estate professionals. We're not marketing property that other people listed. Although you guys have most of them, you guys could talk about the market. Be the reporter, be the go-to person, be the voice of real estate in your local market. The reason why we start with area neighborhood first, because if you're talking about a property that came onto the market, that just got off the market, you need to say it's in this neighborhood. You need to have information on that neighborhood. Click down here to go to that neighborhood. And you need to be able to click down here to see the school district and stuff. So you're building out your web. You do this and you know, you're aligning with consumer behavior. And then you're amplifying it through your work ethic and your physical activities. So some of the things that you can create for your area market is local market metrics. You can do neighborhood reviews. I have school-age children. Parks are still important to me. You know, if you guys come up with the top 10 parks, like I came down here, I had no idea where the parks are. I get lost all the time. And it's really hard to get lost in Florida Keys, but I'm the one person that figured out how to do it. So property reviews, school information. Even though you guys only have one, you know, central high school, people outside of the state or outside of the Keys probably don't know that. And they probably don't know the details, and the details that you give might be different than someone else. And even if they're the same details, the way that you deliver it, the way that your personality comes through will be different than someone else's. Someone will choose you over someone else if you have the same credentials and they like you better. Local businesses. Local businesses are local homeowners typically, and they have a sphere of influence that you can tap into. How can you, if you're going to have a monthly newsletter, maybe go to a local business and ask them for a buy one, get one free coupon. So now every single month, your sphere, your database is getting a buy one, get one free coupon from you in addition to the local market. Let them get to know you, like you, and trust you that way. How-to information is always big. How to buy a home, how to sell a home. Look, I've done a lot of transactions across the country. I have the gist of how to buy a home in the Florida Keys, but I don't know how to buy a home in Florida Keys. There's a lot of gaps that are in between, you know, looking and buying and knowing the local nuances and stuff. There's a lot of gaps within that. That's where you guys come into play. That's where you and your personality, you guys can come up with the same script. Everybody can record it different, and it's going to benefit everybody because of your guys' personality and demeanor. Now, I just want to close with one thing. This is a quote by Wayne Gretzky. I skate to where the puck is going, not where it has been. The puck is sliding right now. It continues to slide. If there's one thing about real estate, it's just a mix of opportunity meet with challenges. That's it. Sometimes we have more opportunity. Sometimes we have more challenges, but the mix is pretty much the same. But you need to skate where the puck is going. Right now, technology is a tool that can be used to be beneficial if you use it the right way. I was talking to Ruth before I came in here, and I shared it a little bit with you guys. This technology that's coming out that we're going to have access to, we're being promised by January 1st. The individual components of it is 90% of what you have now, just from the brand. I know it's nearly 100% of what you guys have access here. But if you don't build the underlying strategy and foundation to it, it's not going to be matter. It's not going to matter how great it is. I'm banking that most people aren't going to use the technology when it comes available. It's just something to talk about. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and unshare my screen because I don't. That's it. Most people are going to just be excited about it, thinking that we're giving them a Hail Mary, that they're getting this magic potion that's going to amplify their business just by having it. And I think a lot of people are going to be very sorely disappointed because their business isn't going to change because they didn't change. If you want more business, then we need to do more activities. And if we're going to do more activities, we need to do the activities that the consumers are doing right now. So we just got to go to the local watering hole, set the lines, set the traps, make the calls, track the numbers, adjust when necessary. And without a doubt, and I'm going to mention this, I'm going to come up and say a few words at your award ceremony. Without a doubt in my mind, those of you that are agents with CB Schmidt, what I know of the organization, you are better equipped than any other agent in any other office that I'm familiar with, and I'm familiar with a lot of them. So I hope you take that with the sincerity that it's meant, because you guys can just absolutely crush it, and you guys have the full support and resources of my department at your disposal to help you do that. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions. You have any
Thank you.
questions?
No, I'm absorbing.
Lynn's been riding shotgun with me, taking notes. So there's got to be a question. You can't just sit here and just be quiet and just look at me. Come on, you gotta say something.
Okay.
Okay.
Brett, I got a question. It's Natalie. Hey, on the Google reviews, like I feel like I've heard this, but I'm not sure. Like when you're searching those, like I just did the incognito, but like Florida Keys Realtor. And so you have those sponsored ones that come up first. And now are they doing like a Google ad type deal, or is that just because of their reviews that they have?
It's the AI driven it now.
Okay.
Google and all of these platforms, everything that they do is to keep attention onto their platform.
Mhm.
And so that's where that's coming from. The way that you can compete on that, it's going to be really, really challenging to compete with the keywords of Florida Keys real estate,
Okay.
because there's a lot of money for those keywords.
Yeah.
Where you can go through the back door on that is through your content development in YouTube. So if you
Okay.
start building out video content and the keyword in there, you naturally put in there Florida Keys real estate, that will naturally start to optimize within the local searches. And over time you will probably, on the longer keywords, Florida Key real estate, maybe something longer, 3 bedroom or something, but you'll
Mm.
see that as you start developing out that video is optimized as the highest engagement activity that you can do on the various different platforms. Why?
Right.
Because it's the most consumed, and it's the hardest for people most to do. But it's easy for people to do a blog post. It's easy for them to do a review or what in type. But when you do that video, did that answer your question?
That did. Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Brett? Don't be shy. Frank, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I appreciate everybody's time and that you've joined us today to be with Brett, and we'll give him some applause.
Oh,
And
Frank uses my tricks.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me share one thing with you guys, and so Natalie has been agents helping agents with us. In fact, we've had a few of your great agents on our event. One of the things that just went live today, to the point that I don't even know if it's working right now, but it went live today, is we created an agents helping agents community, and it's only accessible to the nearly 89,000 real estate agents with Coldwell Banker. And so it's no longer agents helping agents as watching a video. It's now going to be a private community where you can go in and network and communicate just with agents across the network globally. If they have access to CBU, they have access to this community. So if you go to cbu.com and you're going to see it looks entirely different because we switched to a new platform and it took me a second to make it so it could work a little bit better. But there's actually a front page that goes to agents helping agents, and there's one that says communities. You're going to start seeing opportunities to participate in different communities as we build this out. But we have one catch-all community, and that's agents helping agents. All the episodes are in there. We're going to start going back. So heads up, we're going to start going back to some of our participants in the past to come in and participate as a Q&A session in that, because we're solely committed to helping you succeed. And we believe that having a community like this to give you direct access to all of the other agents within the network, we believe that that's going to build a network of communication, of collaboration, might add into some referrals back and forth, but most definitely will give you guys some ideas to be able to bounce off with a network in other agents and perhaps help you guys in your business. So I was told that was live now. I haven't tested it. So here's my disclaimer. I will test it today. But if it's not there, it'll be there and you'll have access to it. And it's not probably going to have a whole lot of activity yet because I haven't even told anyone. The only person who knows that it's live right now is Jason. I haven't told anybody else except you guys. That's how new it is. So
Okay. Cool.
wanted to share that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It sounds like something that'll be a great asset for us.
You're welcome.
So anybody else have anything for Brett? Otherwise, thank you so much, Brett, for your time. And he is here in the conference room in Marathon. So for you Marathon agents, you're welcome to come see him, of course. Otherwise, we will see him Saturday night at the awards banquet.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
You said
Thanks
yes, sir.
very
So I
much.
said yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Brett.
Brett.
Thanks,
All
Brett.
right. Bye, guys.
Sorry. Yeah.